Okay, today we are going to work out how to create a trail that we can walk on so that we can be up in the air, walking along, and just keep having blocks form in front of us. It's going to be similar to our trail as last time, but we're going to have a few more parameters. So we have a path here. I've already created the very basics of our path function. So the first thing it does, just like with our flower trail, is it grabs our old position and our old direction so that we can compare them to see if they've changed. The second thing it does is it defines our block place. We want our block to get placed in front of us, which involves adding our position to our direction. And then it simply sets the block. So I'm going to make my default block go back to being dirt. And I'm going to save this. Right now I have it running just path with the defaults when I run the program. I'm going to walk and go find some nice, well, I was going to find some nice stone area. There it is. So that I can see the results of my dirt path. And I'm just going to do some basic testing to make sure that my positioning is correct. So I'm going to run path facing in each direction. And we're going to see that it gets replaced with dirt. So there's the forward direction. Well, there's one direction. I'm going to look down, make sure I'm fairly centered. Look back up. Run that again. I've got that. So that's where I would have been going forward. Now look down again. Look back up. So I've got my path there. And all I'm doing is turning. I'm not doing any walking here. So I'm standing on this stone and making sure that the path forms in front of me no matter which direction I am facing. And it does. If I'm facing at a diagonal, I actually haven't tested this. I don't know what it's going to do. Put it where I was. It gets a little bit funky on the diagonals because there's more complexity involved in adding my direction, whether or not it's a 0 or a 1 or a 1, 1. It just doesn't handle that well, and I'm okay with that right now. Just making sure that I'm walking straight and then turning and walking straight again instead of trying to hope that diagonal works for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this in a while true loop. This just basically is equivalent to like a forever loop in Scratch. So I could put this whole thing into this while true loop and it would all work as I'm walking along. I'll show you how that works, but we're not going to do that because it will crash the server. So we'll just go over here, save this, I'll run it, I'll show you that it works. Oops, not that. Keep walking and it'll keep placing things in front of me. I can jump and it'll keep placing things in front of me. So now I can walk on air and have a path that forms in front of me. And turns when I do, and if I look up, it does some of that. So we might want to prevent the direction from going up because that gets a little bit awkward. There we go. And I don't want to go up constantly. So that's the first change I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here into my command, into my terminal, and hit Control C, and that quits my while loop because remember it was a forever loop. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the old direction.y to 0. But I'm going to rename it again to just direction equals old direction. I can't do direction, that's already taken. I'll do position change, because that's what I'm going to change the block's position by, equals old direction. And then position change dot y equals 0. And I'm going to save that. And I'm going to make sure I add to it the position change. So all I've done here, I didn't want to change the old direction's y, because I'm going to end up comparing that to my current direction to see if I have moved. And I don't want to compare something that I have changed. I want to keep that solidly my old direction. Now, I'm going to run this again. And now it should stop creating blocks right in front of me. Oh, I know. That's my fault. Let's change this. I was always looking down before. And so it's doing exactly as it should. It's placing a block directly in front of me. And I don't want it to place a block directly in front of me. I want to place it in front of me and under me. So I'm going to have my position change for y be position change dot y minus 1. Remember how we did this last time? We did plus equals -1. And now if I'm looking down, it'll place a block under, and if I'm looking up, it'll place a block up. And that's actually kind of helpful, because it could make steps if we're looking up. So we're going to try it this way. And we're going to run it. All of my testing didn't work because I was always looking down. And same with here, I'm looking down, so it's not changing it. If I want to place a block up in front of me, I need to look up. And I don't like that. So we're going to stop with that, because I like being able to at least turn my head to look up and down. So we're actually going to make the position change y equal -1. So that it'll always place a block under me, and I just need to jump in order to go differently. I'm going to quit this and try again. And I'm going to walk, and it should place dirt in front of me as I'm walking. If I want it to go up, then I need to jump. And I can sneak and walk, and it will never let me go off the edge. It'll just keep placing blocks, and I can keep walking on them. Okay, so I'm hitting shift to sneak. And whoop! It placed a block on the diagonal, but not the other. And because of that, I got in trouble. But as you can see, that's pretty okay what I did. I can jump up again. Oh, I have to walk and then jump up. Oh, I have to walk forward and then jump up, or I create something I can't jump onto. There we go. And now I shift and sneak and walk. And I'm just doing this one more time because it looked like I had a column, and that's not what I wanted. So I'm going to go over here and Control C to quit. I'm going to walk down here. And it looks like I'm creating a 2-block deep sort of thing. And I'm not entirely sure. Oh, nope, it is just 1 block deep. I just had my eyes confused there. So that's the trail we created. So that's great. But I told you it was gonna break the server, and that's because we're laying a block down every single time, whether we've moved or not, which isn't a great way to code. I should be checking if I've moved, and then if I have moved, I'll lay down a block. And I'm actually realizing as I do this that I'm going to do this slightly differently. I'm going to compare my old block place to my new block place to see if I should bother laying a block down a second time. So I'm going to set all of this. That means that I can actually set my direction and not have to do my position change here, because I'm not going to be comparing these. And so I can get rid of this whole position change bit, and I can change this back to old dir, because I'm just going to compare where I placed a block last time to where I'm going to place a block this time and see if it's going to be in the same place. And in order to compare that, I need to also move my initial block placement outside of this while true. I need to copy it out of there so that I have an original one to compare it to. So to reiterate, I'm getting my position and my direction. I'm making it so that I want my change in direction to be in the -1 in the Y position. I want to ignore the Y of my direction and make sure I am placing a block underneath my feet. I am deciding where to place the block. And now I'm going to go in here. And then I'm going to place that first block actually, because otherwise we could get set into a situation where we can't move. And now I am going to do all of that all over again, going to find out where I should be placing my block, and then I'm going to do an if statement before I place another block. I'm going to say I'm changing this up here to old block placement. I'm changing all of these to old block placement. And actually, I'm going to not do this. Sorry. I'm going to set my old block placement just to a plain old vector 3. That is vector 0, 0, 0 as a dummy one, okay? Just so I have a variable in there. And then I'm going to do everything to get my new block placement. And then I'm going to compare if my old block place is not equal to my block place. Then I'm going to place the block. Forgot my colon there. Okay. So I set just an old block placement that's wrong and has nothing to do with where I'm located so that I could get all of my directions. I don't need to have these be my position to be special anymore. I can get rid of that and just put it there as part of my block placement. I do need my direction to be my direction. I don't need it to be old direction, but I do need this separate variable here so that I can set my Y equal to -1. And then I'm finding my new block placement. Alternatively, I could say that my block placement is my position plus my direction plus a -1 in the Y position, but that would still mean that our looking up and down would matter, and I don't want to have that be a problem. And then I am comparing my old block placement to my new block placement, and if they're different, then I am setting a block at the new block placement, and I am setting my old block placement equal to my block placement. So we've set a block and we've updated where we used to be, and now we'll look and see if we move again. So let's see if this works. It should be entirely the same as it was before, because we haven't done anything to change how the code acts to the user. What we've done is we've made it so that we are not unnecessarily laying out code multiple times. And so everything works as expected. Unfortunately, we can't go very fast because the server just can't keep up. And actually, it's doing pretty good. It did pretty well for a moment. So we can, it looks like, walk at a fairly reasonable speed. But at some point, all of the code just can't keep up. And as I look around, you'll see that I kind of spam the area with extra blocks. Oops. Okay, so that's doing pretty good. We now have a path that we can walk on. What I can also do is, let me do this real quick. Let me stop this with a Control-C again. What I can also do, if you're still interested, is I can do things like look at my position or my direction and create a block on either side of me by looking at which one of my direction is 0 or 1 or -1 and placing to the 1 and -1 side of the one that's 0. It's kind of hard to explain. So if my direction is vector, I don't care about the y, I'm just going to look at the x and the z. If it is 1, 0, 0, then I am pointing in the positive x direction, and I could stick over here a -1 and a 1 in the z direction to create a path that's a little bit wider. If my path is zero, 0, 1, then I'm facing in the positive z direction, and I could place a block in the -1 x direction, the 0 x direction, and the in the positive 1 x direction to create a path that is 3 wide for me to walk on. The real issue comes is that when I have a vector that is 1, 0, 1, then I would only be placing one block in the diagonal direction and not being able to make it wider or not wider or any of those things. And it gets a little bit complex to work out. So I'm not going to do that because I've played with it and I don't love what the code does. But that's something that you can play with. And as a matter of fact, we can get rid of the width equals 3 there. We can also do a block array. I'm not going to spend time doing that right now because you saw that how that worked in the flowers. So you can figure out that on your own. The other thing we can do, and this is kind of fun, and I will spend a little bit of time doing, is we can keep track of the old blocks that we had, and as we move forward, we can replace them with what they were before we moved. So I can have a set of blocks that walks in front of me, and as I get on a rotating list of 5 blocks or something like that, the old blocks go back to being what they were before. So probably air, but maybe if we're on the ground, it would be cobblestone or various things like that. And so we'll spend a few minutes playing with that in a second video, because there will be some complexity to that, and I don't want to add that to this video right now.